happy to introduce the morning session of the second day of this conference. We are very happy to have Anna Kerkhof with us. Anna did her PhD in Cologne, is now at IFO in Munich, and is there leader of the junior research group Text as Data. And well, I guess we will see one example of where text as data can be useful. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the invitation. Thanks for having me. So I'm going to present a recent paper, which is called Content Supply to Digital Platforms, which is joint work with my PhD student, Lena, and my colleague, Johannes, from the BI Norwegian Business School, but he's currently transitioning to Amsterdam in case you want to reach out to them. And unfortunately, not much text as data is involved in this project, but if you have any questions on NLP, you can, of course, reach out during the coffee breaks. So recent years saw the emergence of large digital platforms that dominate the delivery of online media. And I'm sure, I mean, you're all aware of the examples that I put here, for example, YouTube, Twitter, X, TikTok, TripAdvisor, Yelp, and so on and so forth. Now, what these platforms all have in common is that they produce little or even no content by themselves. Rather, they rely on independent creators who create content and put it like on those platforms and thereby engage the consumers of those platforms. Second, what these platforms have in common is that they typically do not charge their consumers via subscription fees. Rather, they rely on advertising revenue to generate their operations. Therefore, these platforms reside over multi-sided ecosystems and kind of have to make three groups of agents happy. So the creators, the consumers, and the advertisers. Now, keeping the advertisers happy is, of course, like highly important to those platforms because the advertisers are the major source of revenue. And there are two like major governance challenges to achieve this aim. First, you have to attract and engage a sufficiently large audience because, you know, a sufficiently large audience is like what the advertisers pay for. On the other hand, you also have to make sure that you maintain the quantity and quality of content supply because advertisers hate their ads to be displayed next to like hateful comment or extremist speech and so on and so forth. Now, in this project, we're not so much focusing on the consumer side, rather we look at the supplier side, so the creator side. So how do you make sure that creators supply much and high quality content to those online platforms that advertisers are happy with? Because I'm walking around too much. Okay, sorry. So, oh, yeah, that's a difference. So some major platforms, so for example, YouTube and Twitch, use exclusive partnership programs. And what are partnership programs? Well, partnership programs allow certain creators to monetize their content, typically through sharing like a certain amount of advertising revenue with them. Those partnership programs are selective and thereby enable the platforms to exert a certain degree of control over who gets access to the advertisers. And they also impose financial incentives to motivate the provision of high quality content. Now, designing the eligibility criteria to those programs is hard because how do you make the cutoff? So first, the creators are often very heterogeneous and supply content for very different reasons. So not all of them are financially motivated in the first place. Second, if you design those programs too openly, then the control function will be compromised. On the other hand, if you make them too restrictive, then the effectiveness as an incentive device will be limited if you cannot achieve the eligibility criteria at all. Finally, well, once you impose a partnership program on your platform and make certain adjustments, well, you might trigger very unexpected reactions, some of them very unwanted. And this is something that is really not well explored in the literature. And this is exactly where our paper makes a contribution. So what do we do in this paper? So we pose one major question, which is we study how YouTube creators reacted to an increase in the eligibility criteria to its partnership program. So in other words, it became harder to become a YouTube partner. And what happened? The paper in a nutshell looks at the following situation. So we consider the time of the so-called adpocalypse, where YouTube faced an intensive public backlash and also advertiser boycotts because ads were appearing next to extremist content, and advertisers like Walmart and so on threatened YouTube to withdraw their ads altogether if YouTube didn't do anything. As a reaction to this, YouTube increased the eligibility criteria to its partnership program to exert more control over who gets shares of the advertising revenues. So it became harder for new creators to become partners. In addition to that, YouTube also removed all former participants who did not meet the new criteria from the program. And this is exactly what we're exploiting in this paper. So for the economists in the room, we use a sharp regression discontinuity design where we compare the YouTubers who just lost access to the program to those who just remained within it. So why are we doing this? Well, we cannot just compare all YouTubers that were thrown out from the program to all YouTubers who remained, because those might differ in many respects, right? And therefore, we consider a small number of YouTubers who are kind of comparable, exactly like those who just remained in the program and who just lost access to it, arguing that those, that this is as good as random, right? So they differ in a very slight respect, and therefore it is as good as random whether you remained within the program or not. Therefore, we can compare those two groups of YouTubers. Now, what do we find? Well, in short, YouTubers who lost access to the program, so who were demonetized, reduced their activity, so they uploaded fewer videos, the quality became worse, so they received fewer likes compared to the overall number of ratings that they received, and also the diversity became smaller, so they supplied less diverse content. And this is something that YouTube was not really anticipating, as far as we know from anecdotal evidence. So rather they thought that if some YouTubers lose access to the program, they would try extra hard to regain access. This is something that they stated in their blog. But this endeavor completely backfired, and they really offset their creators at that time. Okay, so this is a summary of what we do. So let's go into the details a little bit. So I'm sure everybody here knows YouTube. It's the second largest website in the world in terms of web traffic. It is more than 2 billion monthly users, and more than 500 hours of content are uploaded every minute. So YouTube is huge, and it's extremely relevant by itself. Now, advertising is the main source of revenue. And YouTube shares this revenue with its creators through the partnership program. So the partnership program is a means for YouTubers to monetize their content, and eligibility is based on changing rules. And as far as we know from anecdotal evidence, so official numbers do not exist, YouTubers earn around $3 to $5 per 1,000 ad views. Now, you might know that in 2016, 2017, there was this large advertiser boycott and increased pressure to create content on the platform. So this was huge. It was in the media all over, and YouTube really had to do something. And as a reaction in December 2017, YouTube announced to counteract, this abuse of the platform by through concrete changes to the access criteria. So while before your channel had to had earned 10,000 lifetime views, the new eligibility criteria forced you to have at least 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time within the last year. And this excluded former participants who did not meet those criteria, but YouTube actively encouraged them to try much harder to regain access to the YouTube Partnership Program. Okay, so this is the setting. So how do we analyze, what happened to the YouTubers who lost access? So we are quite lucky that for another project, I collected data on YouTubers in December 2017. So immediately before this announcement was made. So this was just super lucky. And back at that time, I obtained the universe of all active German YouTubers and also collected information on who was doing advertising and who was not. So this is a unique piece of information that we can exploit in this additional project. And in addition to that, we did a second round of data collection in November 2020, where we scraped YouTubers with subscriber counts around those 1,000 subscriber threshold anew, which lets us study what changed for those YouTubers. So to give some more detailed information, so we have the subscriber count in December 2017 and November 2020. We can compute the experience on the platform. So we know that for how long YouTubers have been active by December 2017, so immediately before the rule change was made. On the video level, we have information on likes, dislikes, video duration, upload date, tags, and views. So tags are descriptive terms that YouTubers assign to their videos to describe the video content. And these tags make the videos searchable via the YouTube search engine. And in this other project, I also show that they're very precise. So YouTubers usually do not manipulate these tags. So these tags are very descriptive and very accurate for the content of the videos. So this is all the NLP I do in this project. The watch time, unfortunately, is not directly observable. So this metric is not available via the YouTube data API. Therefore, we compute a proxy from the data. So as I said in the beginning, we are going to compare YouTubers who just lost access to the program to those who just remained within this program. Now, the hard cutoff is at the 1,000 subscriber threshold. And therefore, we compare YouTubers just below that threshold to YouTubers just above it. To be more precise, we compare YouTubers within the 900 to 1,200 bandwidth. And why is this unbalanced? So there are way more YouTubers with few subscribers than YouTubers with many. And we just wanted to have a sort of balanced number of YouTubers below and above the cutoff, which is why we chose this bandwidth. Of course, we do a number of robustness checks where we show that it doesn't matter how precisely we choose the bandwidth. Yes.
I have just a clarification question. So when this was announced, how did this take in effect? So was there any way YouTubers could still react to these thresholds?
So it was announced in December 2017, and this is what we take as treatment date. It was announced in December and done in February. And to take into account any anticipating effects on behalf of the YouTubers, we take this December threshold as the date of the treatment. So YouTubers couldn't really do anything. I mean, you cannot increase your subscriber count like by 200 within a month. Well, maybe you can through illegal measures, but we don't think this is very widespread. So they just had to follow along.
So I would guess that there are some people who are really so close to the margin that they could still do something about it. So probably it's a very small fraction of what of that number, but there could be still a few who kind of managed to change the status, getting some aunts and whatever cousins active and
yeah, and this is like to exclude those who could mobilize like 3 aunts and 4 cousins. We exclude like this donut. So like those like very, very close to the cutoff. Yeah, to exactly for this reason. So again, for the economists in the room, so in principle, we have 2 running variables here, which is a bit uncommon for an RDD design. So following the literature, we focus on the more prominent one, which is the subscriber threshold, because watch time is kind of a vague metric that YouTubers do not really understand themselves most of the time. So we use the subscriber threshold as the main running variable and just control also for watch time, which you can see here. So this is the only equation that I'm going to throw at you today. So we compare, so as a dependent variable, we take like the activity, so video uploads, likes, or diversity. And on the right-hand side, our main explanatory variable is this dummy for losing access to the program. So were you above or below the subscriber threshold? And then we control also for our running variables, subscriber count and watch time. In addition to that, we are interested in subgroup analysis. So we compare mainstream versus niche creators, and we also compare YouTubers who have been on the platform for long to those who have only been on the platform for like a small period of time. And why do we do this? Well, we think that those who produce niche content are probably not as are not driven by financial motives, or not as much as those who produce mainstream content. So they might do it more for fun and are not affected if you demonetize them. So the idea is to find out whether taking away the possibility to monetize your content affects YouTubers because the monetary incentive vanishes, or because they feel like personally set off and just demotivated. Okay, so before I'm going to show you the results, I would just like to convince you that we're comparing to, that we're doing a valid empirical strategy. So coming back to Martin's comment about, bunching just behind the subscriber threshold, what you can see here is the distribution of subscribers. And we do not see like a large jump just behind, this 1,000 subscriber threshold. So there's some like a little bit going on, but this is really not statistically significant. So we do not find evidence for manipulation just around that threshold. In addition to that, we do have data from before the demonetization. So we compare YouTubers who later lost access to the program to those who lost it, who did not lose it, in terms of our main outcome variables, and we do not see any like statistically significant differences between those groups, whereby we conclude that these groups are pretty much comparable to each other. Okay, so these are our main results. So as I said before, we find that YouTubers who lost access to the program reduce their upload frequency, they receive fewer likes, and they also use fewer unique tags, so their content becomes less diverse. So what you see here are YouTubers, below the 1,000 subscriber threshold and above. And on the y-axis, you can see the upload frequency, the like, share, and the number of unique keywords per month. So this is really deteriorated through losing access to losing access to the partnership program. Well, you can also say this in terms of numbers. So we find that losing access to the program means that YouTubers on average upload 2.8 fewer videos per month, which is quite a sizable effect given that, the mean or median number of uploads per month is somewhere between 4 and 6. So this is a sizable reduction in activity on behalf of those YouTubers. We also find that the effect is mainly driven by the mainstream YouTubers and not so much by the niche YouTubers. Which we interpret as an indicator that it is really, the monetary incentives that were driving those YouTubers, and taking that away from them reduces their motivation to upload. In addition to that, we also find that the effect is mainly driven by those who have gained some experience on the platform, maybe already developed, a business model, and not so much by those who were just joining before the rule change. We see a similar pattern for quality, which we measure in terms of the like share. So again, we see this negative effect on average. And again, this is driven mostly by the mainstream YouTubers. And again, this is a sizable effect. It's around 30% of a standard deviation in the dependent variable. Regarding heterogeneity in terms of experience, we do not see much of a difference here. This is weakly statistically significant, but the coefficients are very much alike, so we do not make too much of this. Finally, studying diversity in terms of the number of unique keywords or tags that are used in each month, we again find that the negative effect is mainly driven by the mainstream YouTubers and those with high experience on the platform, matching the pattern that we saw before. So overall, what we find in this project is that there is a deterioration of incentives due to this rule change. So we see a decrease in activity, quality, and diversity. And we also observe that mainstream creators showed a stronger negative reaction in terms of activity and also diversity than the niche creators, which might, so we're not overselling this, but this might hint to a relative importance of extrinsic monetary motivations. We also see that the more experienced creators show more negative reactions. So maybe that is, due to having developed a business model or identity or attachment related motivations. Again, we're not overselling this because we cannot precisely pin down the mechanisms. Of course, our study has a couple of limitations. So first of all, we do not conduct a welfare analysis. So overall, we cannot say whether this is good or bad, that some YouTubers, change their content supply to the platform. Then we're only studying, a very small subset of creators in this huge ecosystem. I mean, so 1,000 subscribers is the median number of subscribers. So we're really studying the median YouTuber on the platform. Still, our sample is 500 YouTubers and there are millions. So while we think that, our empirical strategy is very clear and very nice, still, you can probably not draw conclusions for YouTubers who have 10 million subscribers or so. We cannot clearly separate mechanisms, so we cannot clearly say whether our results are driven by financial or non-pecuniary incentives. And finally, YouTube is, of course, close to a monopoly, so we cannot say anything about how changes in these eligibility criteria to partnership programs would work out on platforms that have competitors, because their YouTubers, creators might just switch to a competing platform.